Greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode 174 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. That's Trev. No Stoner tonight. He is on the road, but we've got you covered, not just with the two of us, but we've got KDot, not that KDot from District Divided, will be joining us here in a little bit. I have to specify because I told Trev KDot was going to be on the show, and he fainted. You didn't know what to say, Trev.
Okay. A lot's happened since I've been gone for 3 weeks, so okay.
Well, we will have some great conversations today. We're going to get the hype train's kind of already rolling on Jayden Daniels, but we're jumping on it and we are going full speed ahead. We'll talk about a lot of Jayden Daniels, the passes we've seen, what we expect now that we've seen him in Burgundy and Gold. I mean, it's looking good. I'm hoping we get people on board with us. I know there's a few haters still. EP, looking at you. Who still not on the Jayden Daniels train there. The big part, though, the front office has seen a lot of movements. It's not just the front office that you know of, the VPs and everything like that. We're talking the scouting department. We're talking about winning in the margins, right? We've heard that a lot over this off season. You know, if you can't do things with the salary cap, what can you do outside of that to make your team better, right? And you look at those NFLPA grades and how Washington was ranked dead last in the collective whole there. And Josh Harris, Adam Peters, and Dan Quinn said, unacceptable. We've got to do stuff to make ourselves better. And we're going to talk about some of those things that have happened in the game. And then in the warm-up, it was announced that we are going to Miami. Now, that was already in the books, the preseason game, but we're going to see a joint practice between those two teams. And that is what we're going to talk about here in the warm-up. And KDot's going to join us in a moment here. In fact, actually, let's just go throw KDot on right now. We're going to do some congratulatory messages for everybody. I got to move my head, bob and weave, Nathan. There we go. KDot, thanks for joining us here. I do have, there we go. I've got the applause going for you.
Love it. Hey, guys. I'm good. I'm glad you got the intro. I don't want any smoke with my Maple Leaf brothers north of the border, you know? There's been a lot of stuff happening.
I am not qualified anywhere to talk about that rap beef, but I will say that I firmly believe KDot won that. That's all I'll say. Again, I'm not qualified, but congrats, KDot, on winning the rap beef.
I'll take that. I'll take that one too. I'll take that. Yeah.
I mentioned we had a few congratulations to go around here. Nicole is going to be graduating soon. So congrats to Nicole.
Congrats, Nicole.
Trev, you got somebody who graduated 5th grade today.
Yes, I do. 5th grade graduation today. Shout out Jace.
Shout out to her, and then shout out to my boy Gavin, who graduated last week. I didn't get a congratulations in last week's episode, so we're going to get here. And then I want to give a hearty big love message. It was yesterday that I celebrated 13 years of marriage with EP. And so I just want to say that I love her, and we're so happy. She's an amazing woman. She's done a lot of the setup behind and around and taking care of me. She's currently taking care of some extra kiddos. I don't know how many people, I don't think I've said it publicly on the channel. Keep it very small. We are fostering 2 little ones right now, and she's been an amazing mom to those 2. So that's when we say chaos has reigned in the Perry household. That is what's going on here. It's been 10 years since we've had babies, and now all of a sudden we got 2, and she's rocking it. She's absolutely rocking it. So much love out there to
awesome. I made it to about 1 year of marriage, and then had to worry about whether or not I had to return those gifts or whether or not I made it past that point. It was like, but if I get married again, I don't know. It's an awkward moment. Like, I still have those gifts.
Yeah, there you go. So big congrats to everybody. And if anybody else has something to throw into the chat, as we stream live every Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And this is your opportunity to join the conversation live. And I mean, of course, you can listen to it on your favorite audio platform afterwards, because we do push it out after that. But this is your chance to join the conversation. So if you have anything to add to that, please do put it in the chat. We take questions live. We get you into the show. And I'm still looking for opportunities to have some of our listeners join us. There was actually a talk last week, because I was running solo, is maybe grabbing someone from a viewership, but I didn't quite get to it. Mentioned kind of chaos reigning in the Perry household, but that is something we're actively working on, getting more people involved with Ref the District. And it's great. So things are going on here. And things are going to be going on down in Miami. Joint practices. Now, this is something Ron Rivera started, right? Like we started to see like some interest in some joint practices. So it's not exactly new. And we saw, joint practices before, famously D Hall, tearing his Achilles. But what do these joint practices mean for you, KDot, as a fan, to see Washington starting to do more of these?
Yeah, as long as DeAndre Hopkins isn't there, I feel a lot better about things. But the overall element of like the joint practices, you see a lot of the teams, the ones that are the perennial winners, are usually the ones that can have to develop good relationships with certain other guys around the league, and they do this. I think Miami's even that they announced that they're doing joint practices with every preseason opponent or something they have at some point. So it's like, okay, that's good. This is a step in the right direction. And I saw Dan Quinn even talked about it. To me, the most positive aspect of it, period, is the idea of you getting the referees involved right there so they can learn what penalties are what, and they're learning right there in real time what's going on, because you don't really hire full-time officials or anything to do anything at training camp, right? So like that element alone just speaks to, I just want anything that I see this team is working in the right direction as far as preparation. You get nothing but thumbs up from me, right? So like it all works out. And I love the idea that you can have these sort of new coaches, new philosophies. They could see what's working with other teams and just get a realized sense of stuff, man. Like training camp over the last few years have been sort of watered down to a standpoint of which like we really got to figure out. Some of these teams take so many weeks to really ramp up, right? And you talk about like the non-contact in practice, how limited the time is that they're allowed to do this, that, and the other. So anything that gives them anything close to game time speed, anything that's closer to seeing the refs, anything that gets them more prepared to win. Why is there no negatives at all? I'm not going down to Miami. It's a little hot down there for me. But even that, the heat, that's a good thing to know, right? Like Miami, people dropping like flies down on the sidelines of Miami. It's even good to know that. Like, just get the prep.
I think we talked a little bit about this, Trev, last year with the joint practices, but I think that the value in the joint practice is more than the preseason game. It seems like when they did the joint practice last year, we saw, the snippets of it that seemed like they were going at it and they were trying hard, and they had a much longer than the game would allow, and you get repeated repetition. And then the preseason game, it was like nothing. Like we didn't see anything. Like it was all vanilla. It was all just like, okay, go out there, don't get injured. Are these, maybe taking away from those preseason games? And if they are, do we even care?
I think they kind of are taken away from preseason games, especially if you're practicing with the team you're about to play the following week on a preseason game. It takes away, and you've heard the commissioner himself say he would like to get away with the preseason, and you hear a lot of fans say that too. It's a lot of wasted time. The starters don't play pretty much at all during the preseason, except for like a third one. They play up to a half, if that. But I think it is taken away from preseason. I'm glad it does. I'm going to piggyback KDot with the joint practices. It gives not only the team a sense of to learn new philosophies and schemes, but like top draft picks that your team might have gets to learn how a real NFL pace is. Because like you go up against the same guys in training camp week after week, they're going to come out thinking, oh, that's easy. But no, we go get somebody completely different scheme, different body build, different, everything.
Forbes on Tyreek Hill.
Thank you. And then we saw, because last year we saw Forbes lock up OBJ a little bit, and people were like, okay. But then you saw game time. We won't get to that. But anyway, it gives you like the younger guys, your top 20 picks, 10 to 20 picks, a sense of what it feels like to be an actual NFL player rather than just line up against former vets that are already on your team that you see every day.
Yeah, who's Sanister will be the slot. Who's the slot guy for Miami right now? I know McDaniels kind of moves people around a little bit. So
is Waddle the slot?
It can't be Waddle, right? He's got to be one of the outside guys. Him, Tyreek Hill, and I'm trying to think of who the third guy is. OBJ in there. All right. Sanister and OBJ.
We'll just say it.
They switch stuff around so much down there. It's like I have no idea what it is they're doing at any given point in time. Tyreek Hill being like the Swiss Army knife. Where the hell is he lining up at any given point in time?
Yeah, exactly.
I am looking forward, and we'll talk more about those matchups there. Brian mentioning this here. Kime said that they're considering one with the Jets as well, and that was something that had come out much earlier before Miami announced the joint practice was that Washington, Dan Quinn was looking to do at least two joint practices. So the Jets would be the other one. Of course, they play Baltimore, and it's right. That's the other preseason game. I don't pay attention.
No, we play Baltimore regular season. I think it's
regular season. That's right. So we won't see them in the preseason this time. But yeah, the joint practices, if we can get two in, I think these are way more valuable. And like I was saying with this, right, you're going to see Sanistril on OBJ or, whoever they line up in slot. Like if they put him Tyreek Hill in the slot or Waddle in the slot, you're going to see Sanistril be able to do that drill over and over again. It's not going to be one play in a new scenario. It's going to be, hey, we're going to be doing red zone activities and seeing and kind of working through that and against an opponent, like you said, Trev, that you've not really, that you don't face every day, right? Jonathan Allen can abuse, last year he was abusing Nick Gates. This year it'll be interesting to see how he does up against Tyler Biadish, and if they line him up over Alan Gretty, or if another person emerges as that left guard, he can abuse that. That's Jonathan Allen, right? But what's he going to do against an opponent that he hasn't continually measured, right? Like if you play in a game with somebody that you know their tendencies, and you just play to their tendencies, and now you have to switch it up because you don't know what they're doing. They've watched tape on you and they know your tendencies. So they're trying to stop that. And you have to switch it up. I think it's fantastic to be doing these kind of things. KDot with the Miami thing, we're mentioning Sanistril, but who are some of the other matchups that you would like to see from Washington's perspective?
I don't know if I have really set anyone in particular, because it's just, look, I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time in my life bashing the previous coaching staff, but like when I heard the story out of like the first 2 days of minicamp, which is that Bobby Wagner's telling Sam Cosmi that he could see that he's selling based on where he's leaning that quickly. Like we've known each other for 2 days, bud, and I can already tell you here's more coaching you might have gotten in the last 2 years. It's like,
which is crazy.
Huh? It's
less than 5 words.
Right. What was
leaning.
happening?
Yeah.
To me, it's just, I think if there's any unit that I just want to see of it's the offensive line just work.
Sure.
I just want to see the offensive line do stuff. Miami's defense, their defensive line is pretty stuck back. They've done a damn good job. So I think that's more than anything. I just want to see the cohesiveness of the offensive line. I think everything else just works with time. Like I'm very patient going into this season, but I just want any opportunity these guys get to just learn, because I don't know what they were learning. I don't know what they were learning. I don't have any idea. Like even the idea of like the opponent being able to sell them, like, hey man, dude, I'm coming for you all day. Well, how does he know? How is he coming for me all day? Like why does he know that? Like that's enough for me at this point, because I honestly couldn't tell you what they learned.
Yeah, that's pretty surprising. And mentioning Bobby Wagner, there's actually a situation I just came across right before the show went live here, and he had an exchange with our guy Jeremy Reeves.
Yep.
And so Chick Hernandez had tweeted out, what kind of leader is Bobby Wagner? Jeremy Reeves was messing with Wagner while he was talking with the press. Wagner says, time to grow up. Reeves walked away. I actually have the video here, thanks to Tay and Todd, another great group here. So I wanted to share the screen here so we can watch this for people who might not have seen this.
Awesome.
And so this is the video here. I want to please make sure I hit the sound button here, and we'll see how it goes.
You call the plays. Is your cadence something that you like developed over time, or is that just
you gotta grow up, man? At some point, you gotta grow up, okay? See, that's my job too. You gotta tell people to grow up. It's all right. Go ahead. See, now he mad. Go ahead,
when you
so, yeah, a couple different things there that were pretty interesting to me. That's the one. There we go. Is one, he's calling out Jeremy Reeves, who was an All-Pro a couple seasons ago, well loved within the organization as far as the previous organization, someone they brought back who's respected, but he's calling out Jeremy Reeves. Then it sounded like he kind of brushed off Jeremy Reeves did kind of the comments. You hear kind of laughing, and he's like, I am grown, kind of in the background there. And Bobby Wagner wasn't having it. And then Bobby says at the end, oh, you see, now he's mad. So very interesting kind of exchange there. KDot, we'll go to you first here. What do you think about Bobby Wagner? We talked about him talking about Cosme, teaching that. Now he's teaching somebody who, again, was an all-pro and a Pro Bowler for Washington.
I've gone back to this moment when we talk on Dish Divided a lot. If to me, the most telling moment I think of all of last season in preseason, which was the moment in training camp where Eric Bieniemy got after Terry McLaurin when he was talking to Benjamin St. Juste, where he reamed a team leader in front of everybody. And I think the rest of the season, everybody from my end, I know I was looking at Terry seemed like a shell of himself. He didn't seem as though he knew when to step up or be that leader. And if you have a locker room like that, where you have a Jonathan Allen who might be a leader, but it's more of a quiet, stoic guy, and then your leaders are Montez Sweat and Chase Young, who are rah guys, but then Chase Young never wants to play in scheme, what are you building? So like the idea of Bobby Wagner and letting these guys figure it out amongst themselves. Like there is a certain level of like, when people talk about like, where's his leadership necessarily come from on the team? Does it come from the coaches? Does it come from, it's supposed to really come from the players. At least that's supposed to be the aura of it, right? Like you have to have the players kind of check each other. The right coaches give players the autonomy and the power to be able to check things that are going on in the locker room, right? Like those are the chess pieces on the board that are moving where okay, maybe you have something. I loved it. And I'm sure, I'm almost guaranteeing you that between what it is that press conference ended just then and tomorrow, whenever they're going to see each other, they're going to have a conversation. And that's the kind of thing that we need to have. Not all clashing is bad. I think there wasn't enough clashing that happened with this in this organization, right? You got to start from somewhere to have the communication. Not just everybody just, I guess he's just going to do his own thing. No, Bobby's a leader.
Yeah, and that's actually something that we heard in the exit interviews is from quite a few of the younger guys talking about needing some change in leadership,
right?
And how that they didn't feel that. So Trev, we had some trusted captains, right? We've seen Tressway. He gave up a jersey, talked about the C on his chest. KDot mentioned Terry McLaurin. You got Jonathan Allen, who seemed fed up and possibly wanting a trade. How is the captain situation going to line up this year to maybe give this team the leadership that they've been lacking?
A whole new slate. Everything is brand new. So leave it up to the play. I think the players vote on that too. And we have a whole new pretty much roster right now. So we'll leave it up to them. I do think maybe one or two might retain the captainship. Jonathan Allen, Terry McLaurin, just because they've been here through the worst two coaching regimes, this and that, blah, 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 blah. So I think they might stick on, but I think Bobby Wagner, he has to be a captain. I mean, he's Bobby Wagner. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's Dan Quinn's guy. I mean, you got Bobby Wagner to come to Washington Commanders where everything is brand new. There's no Hall of Fame, this and that here yet. There was nothing.
There's no ring chasing,
played a game,
right?
There's nothing. And you got Bobby Wagner to come here to play for a season. So he's got to be a captain. But like I said, it's a clean slate. Terry McLaurin and Jonathan Allen might stay. Jeremy Reeves is probably not going to be a captain. I mean, I know his heart is in a good place, and he battled through injuries, and he went through so many cuts and re-signs and cuts and re-signs. They brought him back this year, but that right there just shows you it's the purple nurples are out of here.
I'm going to go overboard, Trev. Normally I toe the line and I'm on the fence. I'm going to say interactions like this might mean that Jeremy Reeves doesn't make the final 53.
I don't think he makes the final 53 either, to be honest. But whatever. That's just a hot take.
I think it's a lot coming off of injury. You're the previous guy's, guy, right? I'm not saying he's not good. I think he earned, the accolades that he got. Okay. And he's a fan favorite. We love him here on Ref the District, but it seems like Dan Quinn and his coaching staff's going a different direction. And if you have Bobby Wagner, a guy who you handpicked, come in and have to, in front of the media, do that leadership, do that kind of leading. If Jeremy Reeves doesn't respond, if he is mad, right, or tries to brush it off instead of taking it to heart, the coaches see that. And I don't know if he makes, that's way off. And off in the distance, and that is not normally something I get on the ledge and jump off of here. But I just think that we're going to see the final 53 and Jeremy Reeves isn't going to be on it. And we can go back to this moment and say, hey, this is one of the reasons. It's not going to be the reason, but it'll be one of the reasons.
You know what's sad? We're sitting here gloating and being super happy because somebody checked another somebody in practice for being immature. That doesn't that probably happens everywhere else, but it happens so little here that this is what we have to talk about in the offseason. Little things like this, which is incredible. That's
the thing, Nathan, where it's like, I don't think you're going too far with it. And I think that what you can do is extrapolate it and make it bigger, right? In the sense of not necessarily seeing like Jeremy, which is nothing on this team has led to any sustained success whatsoever. Exactly. There's a new regime, new everything, right? So like, why are there any I don't care what you've done. You haven't done anything to be above reproach, is to be above criticism, to be above, you can do this better, because there are better ways to do it. So if you're not going to be receptive to the new system, I don't care what your name is. I don't care what your name is. You can go. You can go. Like, I think that's where we're at. What we're willing to accept now is not going to be the same that we've accepted, and it's a good thing.
This has been a bad team for a long time, right. and you're right. We're coming off of a 4-win season. Like, things have to change. You can't just keep doing the same kind of things there. And I think Gus here had imagine how sad Tress Way would be if he lost number 5 and Reeves in the same year. And goes on to say, then again, why would I care about a punter's feeling? But we had way too much of a conversation about the number 5 and Tressway giving up, and people didn't want Tress to give it up, not because they hated Jayden Daniels, because how much they love Tressway. I love Tressway. I've got a Tressway jersey within eyesight. Okay. But it's like, when we can sit there and say that Tressway has been one of the best players of the last 10 years, and we're talking about a punter, that's how down bad we were. Like, we were really down bad that a punter can be considered one of our top players, a guy who I believe is one of the best punters in the league. But when you look at how he's rated against his peers, he doesn't get rated as an all-pro, right? He's not at that level. He's like the 7th or 8th best, sometimes even just in the top 15, even though I think he's higher. And it's just, but that's who we have here in Washington to look up to. And so it's crazy how much like we worry about these things that shouldn't matter, right? Jeremy Reeves getting checked, that should be a good thing. Like Trev said, Sam Cosmi getting coached in like the first practice of like, hey dude, like, you're doing this thing that tells me what I can just see it, right? Those are good things, and we should expect more of that. And I think that should lead to more wins. Right now, Washington is listed at 6.5 wins as the over-under on Bet Online. And you can head over to Bet Online too and use the code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to get yourself a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. If you don't want to bet on Washington, don't worry. We still got NBA action going on, NHL action going on. We got golf. All your summer sports are going to be taken care of. I don't know if anyone had the number 1 golfer in the world getting arrested and still making his tee time, but if you did, you probably made big bank, and you probably got that information right there at Bet Online, with all the information, sports and wagering news right at your fingertips. Bet Online, where the game starts. Now that I got the ad out of the way, we're talking about improvements on the field right now. These joint practices, things are going well for Washington, it seems, on the field. And things actually might be even better off the field. We'll talk about that when we get to the game. Welcome to episode 174's The Game. How will the new Commanders front office change the franchise as Adam Peters has been going to work? We're going to talk mainly about 2 hires that Washington has made at the front office, but I did want to bring up some of the guys that they have let go, because there have been some people who weren't retained. Overall, as I'm choked down a cough here. Tell me, Trev, what are your thoughts on some of the moves that you've seen over the last week with the Commanders front office?
We just keep winning off the field right now for this organization.
I know we hate saying it, right? I know we hate bringing that up, the winning off the field.
It's true.
But that's what's happening.
We're not just bringing people in here that have a name in the NFL. We're not just bringing somebody in here to fill a hole or a role that we have on this front office squad. We're getting devoted, well sought out, intense, successful front office leaders to bring on this organization to help us be like where they come from, where we're poaching them from. Everybody that we're getting has had some kind of success and sustained it for at least a year or two in the NFL. So now we're poaching from them to get to where they have been and where they're coming from. I think it's great. I haven't done research on any extensive on the new hires, just by what the Twitter headlines say and stuff and what their positions are. But I mean, I'm just excited. Adam Peters is the man. You got people wanting to come work for this organization and work for him and Dan Quinn, and just speaks volumes with those guys as people and human beings. Can't say it enough. We've been saying it since Josh Harris bought the franchise, what we said about him, and now he got Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. So it's just awesome to see us winning off the field where it matters the most in the front office to make sure this organization runs like an NFL team has in the past. So.
A lot of hate going on for the Allen winning off the field. TJ saying don't use that quote anymore, it's cursed. So I agree. How about we shift it to the new fandangled thing, which is winning in the margins? Isn't that what it is? Right? It's that's what people are trying to use right now, because Josh Harris is talking about it. We've had.
Can we use the doing hard good people instead?
Yeah, that's great. I love the Dan Quinn thing there, but I don't think it works for that. I mean, you're talking about winning off the field. You're talking about doing things hard. Doing things that are improving the team that aren't field work.
Don't back down. Don't back down. No. Absolutely. This is winning off the field. It's winning on paper. It's all the stuff that we're saying. It's just what we have to realize. What we have to realize is that we are all carrying a lot of baggage. Okay, we all have PTSD, and I get it, but you have to overcome this. Okay, everybody, you got to overcome it. Look, here's the difference. There's the through line. Okay, the through line is anytime there were moments, no doubt, over the course of the last 20-something years, where Dan Snyder, I said Voldemort's name, he won off the field. But you know what we always know? We know what we always knew is that he was going to get in the way at some point in time. He was going to ruin it. It was always a countdown. How was he going to stick his finger in this thing? Oh, no, I don't like the way that guy's talking to me. Marty, you're on your way out, bud. Whatever it is that he had to do to make sure that he was getting credit for something, or that he didn't understand. There was no way to wrap his head around how to truly do it. So no, there's no backing down. We're winning off the field. They need to win on the field, and we will hold them accountable to doing that. But you don't need to back down from this. No, that's what we're doing now. It's okay, guys. Go seek therapy. I go twice a week. All right? Figure it out.
I got tomorrow. Yeah.
A lot of love for KDot here in the chat. If you don't know KDot, him and Amit throw on what I believe is probably the most underrated Commanders sportscast. Okay. I see a lot of love being thrown around to some other, shows, and they're well deserved. And we have a lot of friends across the content creation world here in the Commanders. There's a lot of great folks, a lot of great shows. If you are not watching District Divided, do yourself a favor and get over there, subscribe to their channel, like their videos, watch it, because if you like what he's saying here, he has this all the time. He has this energy. Amit does a great job running the show. They have a dynamic. And KDot, you and him, you guys know each other for a long time.
We've known each other, been in each other's circles for a while. But then I had one of my best friends is one of Amit's. All right, so my best friend and one of Amit's best friends are siblings. And they were like, hey, we think you guys could do a pod together. So I was just doing some guest appearances on his pod, and all of a sudden we scrapped all the rest of the guys, and we were like, all right, this is the winning connection. The only problem is, when I'm on a show like this, and I appreciate all the kind words, I'm realizing I am trying so hard not to curse or make inappropriate jokes. So it's like there's a reason we're not necessarily where we need to be, and it's because I might need to clean up a few things. But if you like this, if you like the yelling, just with some more incendiary language sometimes, absolutely come check us out.
Freddie was on last week, and he had a pause. He was like, "Wait, I allowed to curse on the show? I was like, it's okay. One or two, and it's fine. If I have to bring out the whole bleep machine, which we do have a censor button here. If I have to bring out that, then maybe it's a little too much, but it's fine. But we love the energy and we love having you on here. And like I said, I love your channel. It's one, I don't get a lot of time to watch Commanders content, but when I do, if it's not something I'm catching live, I'm throwing on District Divided and have a good time. I was with you on your JJ McCarthy rant. I loved that. It was great. We'll talk more about that though during the hype train. And maybe not. That train has sailed. So the what hasn't sailed is this front office. And well, I guess there has been some people who've sailed. And so I'm gonna bring up some of the names that have kind of gone away. So one of them is David Whittington, spent 15 seasons, according to Nikki Javala, in Washington's personnel department. Gone. He's going to Carolina. Let's see here. I bookmarked a whole bunch of them. The Browns hired former Commanders director of pro personnel, Chris Polian. Let's see. Pro scout Connor Behringer is no longer with the team. Contract just not renewed. Right. You have, let's see here. No, I think those might be the headlines as far as people who are out. But I mean, like these are people, and I think some might be confused on the timing, right? Because this is after the draft. Well, they have a bunch of information and a bunch of data that they've stored on these players going into the draft that you don't want to lose once the draft hits. So you do the draft with them. You can take their information, you can take their input for the draft. And even if it's not somebody you want to keep, because 15 years in Washington, you didn't get a lot of hits. Okay. Maybe you were pounding the table for all the picks that we didn't take, but you didn't get a lot of hits. So now you're gone, but at least we have your information going to this one. So now they get released afterwards, or they go find different homes. And who was the guy? Kyle Smith, right? Yeah. That was the name. Goes to Atlanta. That was the one a lot of people wanted to be like the guy here in Washington. But I don't see anybody pounding the table for any of these other guys, right, Trev?
No, there's no need for that. They were here and had some kind of role that led to failure. So, I mean, why would we even go down that road again? So, sorry, Kyle Smith. Wish the best of luck. Sorry about your recent loss in the family, too, if you're watching this. But appreciate your time. But
yeah, well, KDot, there is one here, Locked on Law, saying, okay, honestly, I'm still wondering why they kept Martin Mayhew around, why they kept Doug Williams around, why they keep male cheerleaders around. I'm not sure about that last one, Locked on Law, but the first one is probably the biggest question. And Trev raising his hand, so we know he's got something good here.
Because he's Adam Peters' guy, and maybe Adam Peters know his exact role that he fits the best on the squad, and that's the role he has right now. I think when he was here with Ron Rivera and had a different role and had some control over the team or assistant GM, whatever, I don't even think he had a title, but he just had a role but no title. I don't even know. And it didn't work. So maybe the success he had with Adam Peters in San Francisco is now going to happen here with us in Washington because he has the exact role that he's supposed to be in rather than taking on something that he hasn't done and forever or not very good at. So that's probably why he's still here.
Yeah, I think there's an onus to want to either in some ways kind of crap on all the guys that were here because of the lack of success. But I think that one thing with these front offices is that you never quite know who's responsible for what at any given point in time, depending on how front office is working, right? So like I think the biggest problem here in Washington for the longest time is who the guy at the top was. And what it is that maybe his mission statement was that had everybody else kind of running. We have no idea, right? It just always felt as though it was a rudderless ship in the sense of like trying to build an identity or a culture within the team environment. So I think that what they're doing is you'd never want to fire the full front office staff before a draft. It'd be the worst thing you could possibly do, right? Because there's so many information, so much work that they've done. All these guys are professionals. Period. And they've done the work they have. And then you can glean what information you can take from them or what have you to get it all through. And I also think when they went through this process, what they're seeing is, hey, who do we still gel with? Who still can do this job? We compartmentalize it just a bit if we get them to focus in on this thing or on that thing. And that's what I trust is that right now they hire Adam Peters and he's the guy. He's the guy with the mission statement, right? They go and hire Dan Quinn. He follows along with that same mission statement. The guys they bring in follow along with that same mission statement. From the plaques that they're putting on the wall with Darryl Green as far as hitting people to there's a through line now, right? So I
do
think
hard shit with good people.
Right. Love it, right? So like I think the thing that you're seeing right now is like anytime I see one of these names of like somebody leaving, I'm curious as to what they were doing here. I'm curious as to see what their responsibilities were. I know I'm never going to know it for sure, but everybody that the big thing for me is that everybody that they've hired just seems like an upgrade. So like it's not necessarily that they suck. It's just there's someone better here. Like there's just
Yeah, when we said we're talking about guys who've been with the franchise for a while, this franchise hasn't been successful since the last Super Bowl. We're talking 91, which there's people here in the chat tonight who weren't alive during that time. And myself and Trev, KDot, I don't know your age, but we barely remember that Super Bowl. We were young. You were 2, yeah. So like we're getting up there in age, and this team just hasn't been successful, our entire lives. Stoner is a military transplant, and he's only been with the team since the early 2000s. He became because of the old ball coach, the Florida ties, Spurrier. So that's how much he's endured, and the fact that he stayed with it. And so now we're seeing, we like to say it here, and it's said a lot, and Stoner's not here, so I'm going to say it for him, right? Adults are in charge, right? We got adults in the building, and this is what it feels like. KDot, you're right. It seems like an upgrade. And I think part of the reason why it seems like an upgrade is where these people are coming from, right? You've got David Blackburn, who spent 17 years with the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens have been pretty successful in the last 17 years. Yeah. Pretty darn successful, right? And then you got Brandon Sosna, who came from the Detroit Lions the last 2 years. Well, I don't know about you guys, but the Detroit Lions seem to be the media darlings and the babies, and they seem to be a pretty darn good team. And a lot of that has been over the last 2 years, how they've transformed under Dan Campbell, who I'm not going to say is a similar coach to DQ, but it kind of has that same kind of, hardness to it. He might be a little bit more bite your kneecaps than Dan Quinn, but there's some things there, some similarities. And so I think that's why it feels like an upgrade. You're poaching top talent. There was actually a report that one of the people before they settled on Sosna, they were going to take one of the top guys from the Eagles,
Jake Rosenberg.
Yeah. And this is big because again, these are people who want to leave successful teams to come to Washington, who is not a successful team. And they want to work with Adam Peters. They want to work with Dan Quinn. We talked about Wagner in the warm-up. This is a guy who's going into the Hall of Fame. He should be chasing rings. Instead, he is coming here to play in Washington. It's unfathomable. That's the level of respect that this team has right now on the outside. You get a guy like Adam Peters. You get I know a lot of people were tied into the Ben Johnson, right? They wanted the new sexy. I was one who thought, go with a young offensive coordinator. Yeah, but Dan Quinn proved right away why he was the right hire. He was bringing in top talent across the board on the coaching staff. And now he's bringing in top talent and with Adam Peters because people want to play for these guys. And I think it's awesome. And Sosna he's got his role is insane. He's reporting directly to Adam Peters, but he's going to be the lead contract negotiator, oversee a number of football operation departments, including analytics, health, performance, football administration, and will be one of the club's liaisons to the business operation. This is all from the Washington Commanders news dump on this one.
That man younger than me by 6 years.
Yeah,
where'd I go wrong?
This guy's not going to have a life. That's a lot of job titles, man.
That's the life, bro.
But it's because the thing is, you're Sosna in Detroit specifically. The number one reason everyone should love the pick is that they interviewed both Rosenberg out of Philly and him, and they chose this guy. Both wanted the role. They chose one over the other. Rosenberg is one of the hottest candidates in the league. Everybody knows what Philadelphia does as far as their whole machine off season, everything. It's insane. But the thing with Detroit that's always underrated as far as this rebuild they have is what they were able to do salary cap wise. Like you see even the Marcus Davenport pickup and everything. Everybody's like, how does Detroit still have money? What are they doing? Aren't those contracts? and no one knows. No one knows what he's doing to make it work. And it's like, when you see how much money Josh Harris is willing to spend, because this is the other thing, there's no salary cap for front office, right? The amount of money that he's spending right now with these guys, and even the undrafted free agency, the amount of money that they're spending right now, he wants the most elite of the elite. And what he's saying is like, I'm looking across the league, who can be my salary cap guru? Who can be the guy that knows these numbers better than anybody else? Sosna's near the top of that list across all realms. And then if you look at David Blackburn, who I'm over the moon about, because I want people that understand that mission statement philosophy, that understanding of like, hey, we're going to move the entire organization in this direction. There might not be a better culture in the league than Baltimore. And this dude has been there for that long. And what his job was specifically was as far as what pro scout or college scout, which I'm sorry, every time that Baltimore drafts, unless it's a wide receiver until Zay Flowers, I thought that they won every year. Every draft, they end up picking my favorite guy. They end up making it work through all these things. Like they're looking around. And people are wanting to jump ship. Like you look at Detroit, Ben Johnson, all right, Lance Newmark, I'm leaving. I'm trying to get off the ship too. Like there's something special here. They're building something that people legitimately want to be a part of. And I don't necessarily even think it for the accolades as much as like to learn, just to be around. Like right now, Washington feels like a resume builder. Like it feels like something you could add to your CV with the amount of names that are happening. They're like, you spent time in Washington with those guys. You did that. You might have learned something from those guys. Oh, okay.
How great will it be? And we'll say 5 years to finally replace that god-awful graphic that comes around every year where it's the coaching staff of 2013 and it's like, all the Kyle Shanahan and the company there.
Nothing. We had them all here. So
yeah, I know we were a bad team with them, right? Replace that graphic with a new graphic that's like the Dan Quinn tree. Cliff Kingsbury's moved on to head coach. You've got a front office that people are trying to poach our guys from. And we're having people talk about how, oh my goodness, you got this one guy from Washington. Oh, that's a game changer right there. And I love it. I want that to happen. And it's interesting to see the winning in the margins, the winning off the field, and actually feel like that's the case, because we've heard it a lot previously. And this is something I talk about when it comes to the rest of it, right? We've seen the hope be put into a different GM, a true GM. We talked about how, I'm not going to butcher the poor man's name, Scott's, how he was an adult in the room. Yeah, go ahead and say it, Trev, because I can't say
it. I think it's McLuhan.
McLaren.
Mick. Yeah. So we talked about him being an adult in the room. That didn't work out. We talked about Ron Rivera when he came here, and it was about, this is the leadership that we need, and the riding the ship and the culture and everything. Quarterback. And we've talked about, so it just seems like we're just keep spinning our wheels, but this time feels different. It feels like when before it was, we're still kind of piecing together, right? It was almost like a Jim Zorn thing. It was like this guy came to Washington, but it wasn't really their first choice. It was just, what happened. Where now we're getting people, like you said, KDot, names that are recognizable, that are like, oh, this guy, Zach Ertz was another one that was mentioned as far as people being surprised he would come here. This is a guy in the late stage of his career. Why is he not trying to be tight end 3 somewhere just to, in Kansas City? Be the backup to the backup over in Kansas City and try to chase a ring. No, he's coming here to play with Cliff Kingsbury. The offense, I don't think it's talked enough about the offensive staff. A lot of people focus on Cliff Kingsbury. You got Brian Johnson, Anthony Lynn. They're trying to build an offense that's not the Eric Bieniemy way, right? It's not one-dimensional. And I think that there's a lot of things that are happening there. And when you get guys like David Blackburn and Sosna in the building, like they're going to help out. Now, David Blackburn is in Baltimore. He most recently held the role of director of college scouting. And here he is going to, I just had it in my brain. It's not here in the thing. Okay, there he is. Blackburn is the team's director of player personnel. So he's going from college scouting to now director of player personnel. I guarantee you, KDot, this should get you excited. Amit was in here talking about how you'll salivate if Washington takes the model from Baltimore. He is going to start poaching some of the top Baltimore scouts and bring them over to Washington. And we're going to start seeing this happen. And we're going to see San Francisco. One of the hires that happened was Adam Peters took one of San Francisco's top pro scout. Where this is what happens when you bookmark far too many things, all in the same thing. So they hired Jack Q. He was a scouting assistant for the 49ers last season. So this is what's happening is we're taking from the 49ers, from the Ravens, from the Lions in the last couple of years
and give them to the poor.
So
that's what's going on right now.
Not pour no mo.
Yeah, I know. We ain't pulling no mo, but we was.
Yeah, it's exciting time. So KDot's telling you, don't sleep on David Blackburn, Baltimore Ravens, and you don't have to sleep either. If you head over to don'tsleepenergy.com, use the code district to get yourself 10% off your entire order, whether or not it's your energy drinks. I mentioned we've got 2 new babies in the house here for the Perrys. I've been needing a lot of that Don't Sleep energy to make sure I get through the day, and you can do it as well and support a local company. They're a DMV company. Chuck away all that other stuff. It doesn't give you wings. Don't Sleep Energy makes you great. Use the code district at Don't Sleep Energy. Get yourself 10% off your entire order. I love Blackburn too, KDot. I think that's a big one from Baltimore. And again, kind of poaching those things. Sosna is going to have the bigger role though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think part of me, and this is because I'm a nerd, I'm excited. They said analytics department. It doesn't seem like analytics department is going to be 2 guys like it felt like in the last 4 years. It seems like Washington's going to grow. One of the things that they've done outside the margins is they bought that VR system that Jayden Daniels loves. How big is that?
My number one, it might have been my favorite story to come out. We did a segment on Dish Divided where I had to do a deep dive on the German company that created the VR. And I was so excited. I'm so stoked. Like, this is just truly winning off the field without that yacht son of a, I love it. Like, it's just, it feels so good. Like, I loved it. So I think when we're looking also at like things that have happened in the past here, and like, even if they've gotten one guy, I love what you said as far as like the Jim Zorn sort of quality of some of the guys that end up being here, right? It's because no one wants to be here. They end up finding one guy, and then that guy turns into a savior sort of for the franchise, right? But he's never given the tools necessary to get anything done, and he's never got enough of a team or a staff in order to do anything. Ron Rivera's hire at the time, I still stand pat, was the best thing to happen to the organization. No doubt. There was nobody who wanted to be here. Even Ron, it took Ron to spend an entire day with Joe Gibbs to take the job, right? Joe had to feed him 3 meals in order to take the job. So, like, he gets here, and then what did he say? Up until the last 5 weeks, I haven't even felt like I was coaching. I felt more like a manager, a general manager. Like, yes, because there's no one else here to help you, bud. And you don't know who you can trust. You don't know who. It's just a colossal failure of epic proportions. The idea would be like, you can pick your Avengers lineup of guys. And then you can also tell them, hey, not any one of you have to do too much. We're going to give you everything you need to do the absolute best job you can possibly do at your job. Hey, Sosna, you want an analytics department to help you with the salary cap situation? Best in the business right here for you guys. You want a team of staff? Yeah, we'll buy a building at University of Maryland and give it to you so you can have your computer bank to crunch numbers and information. Like, this is top of the line stuff. I want to work for them so badly. I don't know what I do. It feels like they give me the tools to succeed, right? I
can make a mean cup of coffee.
I don't know, man. Here's the thing. I'm even at a point where I don't think, even if I look at the best things, I don't think I'm good enough to make it to them. Like, it just feels as though they are getting the best of the best with honors. And on top of that, they are giving them everything they need so they can focus on that job aspect. My favorite thing with the New England Patriots, who the organization I follow because I love the success, was the do your job element, right? Being able to focus on doing your job when you know there's an all-around mission statement as far as what it is we're trying to do. And I can hone in on being the best I can possibly be at this gig. Who doesn't want that level of focus and concentration ability to do that? It's nuts. I want to cry. I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think it was possible. It's here. It's here. We'd be excited. It's awesome.
It is quite the time. Excited, and the hype train is on its way. Gregory, not convinced with all of this winning off the field. Tired of talking about who we get. I want to see a winner on the field. We all do, and I think we might be seeing a winner on the field with one Jayden Daniels. We'll be talking about him in the cool down. Welcome to the cool down here on episode 174. I'm Nathan Perry. That's Trev and KDot from District Dividing joining us here to talk about all the other things as I failed to switch over our graphic as we stream live. Got it now. And we got Jaden Daniels on the screen for us because, oh my goodness, it's so hard not to love what you're seeing from Jaden Daniels. I know a lot of people weren't Jaden. I was a JJ McCarthy guy. I was getting a lot of hate for it. Jaden Daniels was actually, I had him third because of, again, analytics brain. The whole pressure to sack ratio was just like, I was so worried about that. All those worries are going away every throw I see. I get it's in gym shorts. I get it doesn't mean anything. But man, Trev, it's hard not to get excited.
Oh, no, it means something. It does mean something, because if you can't make these throws with gym shorts on and nobody in your face and just the one-on-one on the outside, you probably should have been picked number 2 overall. Okay, but I'm not discrediting. I'm hyped. His throws are so effortless. I'm so used to seeing short guys wearing number 4 put all their might into a throw just to get it 20 yards down the field. I'm used to other quarterbacks coming in and throwing 2 picks back-to-back and getting benched for the guy wearing number 4, Carson Wentz. We saw these cool throws in training camp with Carson Wentz. We got excited. But this kid, all the doubt that he had, he shouldn't be number 2. He should be number 3. We should have Drake May instead. Where's Drake May now? Just listen to the different press conferences. Gerard Mayo. It's going to take some time. He's got a lot to work on. But I'm glad he's here. You hear us. Oh man, this guy's great. His brain, the way he shows up to work every day, his flick of a wrist is effortless, bro. It's just spot on. It looks like he's been here before. And the team posted that one clip today. I don't know if you guys saw it, but go on Twitter and check it out. He throws a dime's not even the word. I've never seen a better thrown pass by a rookie in his first few days of practice. I mean, it was just in the breadbasket of Jahan Dotson's hands. Jahan Dotson, all he had to do was, he just had to do what a receiver's supposed to do. Just
for our live viewers, in case they don't have a Twitter account, we're gonna present it to them because it oh my god, it honestly is just a thing of beauty. Okay, I'm gonna keep it on mute because the music sucks, but and it might flag the channel too, so there's another reason, but. This throw here from Jaden Daniels. Again, gym shorts, I get it. But oh my goodness, just on the money. On the money.
I'm just hyped. Guys, it's happening. It's happening. Like KDot said, we're here. It's here. A franchise quarterback that was good in college, proven in college, is right here in our lap. And we didn't mess it up. We didn't go draft the Predator. We didn't go draft Emmanuel Forbes because he had 6 pick sixes in college. You know, we've got Jayden Daniels, a Heisman Trophy winner, 50 total touchdowns, a bajillion yards, 2 schools, 2 different systems. It's just awesome. And I'm just ready for training camp because
it's going to be good. And we're hearing all the things from Jayden Daniels, and we're hearing all the things from his teammates. You have Jahan Dotson, who kind of in a roundabout way said, that's the quarterback I wanted was Jayden Daniels. And you have all the teammates talking. And we heard this last year with Sam Howell, people trying to prop up Sam Howell. And there was a lot of love for Sam Howell early on. But KDot, why does this time feel different? Why should we be buying into the hype train on Jayden Daniels right now, May 22nd?
I mean, I think a lot of it just has to do with once again, like overcoming some of that PTSD. The big boogeyman is gone. This is the first full off season with the new crew. There are adults that are running it. There are adults that made the decision. So like that alone should satiate a lot of feelings that like, hey, you kind of look around. Is this real? Is this real? Yeah, it's real. It's real. Like you can act like any other fan base now. Like it's cool. Like you can believe in the hype. The hype's not a freight train barreling down on you. It's a train you can hop on and ride, right? Like I think that's the thing is like all the surrounding pieces of it make it so that you can, what I'm seeing right now with the fan base is trepidation not to feel hurt again, which is the only reason you see people not completely over the moon about it, right? And that's the only trepidation of it. Look, I was with you. Jayden was not my top pick, but I had him so close that I was completely cool with whoever got it. And like, I will tell you, every time that I hear Jayden talk, whether it be some podcast appearance, every time that I hear somebody talk about him, I'm feeling much better. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling more hyped than I think I would have felt about any of the other guys at this point, right? Like he handles himself like a consummate professional. When you see clips like that of him throwing that football, compared to when you see and I know it's unfair. I know it's taken out of context, but I've seen the Drake May throw in some of those videos. I've seen the JJ McCarthy throw in some of those videos. I hear the Jayden Daniels story that I hear is he missed the throw. He was upset the rest of the afternoon. And I'm like, that's the guy I want. Like, if you tell me that, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy you want. There's just a level of excitement. And I think you can also tell that even the verbiage of the vets or some of the other guys, it doesn't feel like they're trying to sell us on anything. It almost feels like, for the most part, people are trying to pump the brakes, like trying to keep themselves in check more than it's like, hey, we got to sell this to everybody. It's like, I get the sense anytime I see them talk about it, it's like their eyes light up. Like they're excited to talk about it, but it's also like, we don't want to do any harm to this dude. Do you even see what the organization did with like not introducing him to the fans of that ceremony because they didn't want to create the savior complex for him? I'm like, that perfection.
Smart.
Right?
Yeah,
Perfection.
very, very smart here. A couple things in the chat as far as this. I'll get to the PTSD thing you're mentioning later, but I wanted to get to Gus's comment here. Why can't we just believe Jayden Daniels will be a Pro Bowler in year 4? Why does he have to be the MVP the moment he steps on the field? And this is what I think, right? The savior complex that KDot was talking about. I have said that, and this, I was with you, KDot. I had all three of them. JJ was my guy, but I was happy with any one of the three that they would have taken there. And I've said over and over again, Jayden Daniels has the making of an offensive rookie of the year. I don't think he needs to be MVP this year. Even when we were talking about a season, I think I gave him 24 total touchdowns.
Yeah.
Total. That's passing and rushing. Like I'm trying to make sure people understand he doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't have to be Josh Allen. He doesn't have to be Lamar Jackson his first year. He just has to be competent. And he's an electric player. There's going to be plays where we're going to get excited on the field. Is it going to be perfect? No, I don't think it's going to be perfect, but this is a guy you can get behind.
Yep.
The quarterback.
The difference, I'm going to pick the question you asked KDot about the difference in the hype of Sam Howell and this. In the previous years, the regime has forced us to find hope in what we have. We saw Sam Howell come in last game of the season, beat the Cowboys. Oh, yeah, we got steal at the 5th round. I was one of those. I'm a Carolina guy. I was one of those. Like, he's going to be great. He beat the Cowboys it doesn't mean anything, but he still beat the Cowboys. They played the starters. Like, he's doing great training camp, But we had to, find a reason to be hyped because of that Cowboys game. With the staff we have and the Jayden Daniels and other undrafted and draft picks, it's like they're giving the fans, here's your hope. Now run with it. You don't have to find it. Jayden Daniels is your hope that we have a successful franchise quarterback. Bobby Wagner is someone who's going to start the mold of how your linebacking core should have been and should be. Yeah. Joe Witt Jr., Dan Quinn's going to show you how an NFL team practices and runs the football way. So it's like they're giving us tools to have hope. Rather, we don't have to be like, okay, well, Andrew Wiley won 3 Super Bowl rings, but, he sucks here. Why he had Patrick Mahomes? We didn't. So that's a difference. So like we don't have to keep searching and finding hope throughout the Cody Bartons or the David Mayos or the Kendall Fullers anymore. We're just given the tools to have hope already and just run with it. So I think that's why the hype is a bit better this year than it has been in the past.
The Alfred Morris comment here from Tommy is perfect. Alfred Morris did better than RG3 the rookie year, but RG3 won rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, largely because you're talking about a quarterback, right? Quarterbacks tend to get those kinds of awards. And we're bringing up RG3, and that's one of the PTSD things, right? I have PTSD over pressure to sack ratio because Sam Howell was abysmal in that. And that was one of the things Jayden Daniels over the course of his 5 seasons in college wasn't great at. His last season at least was close to the bar. You got to be under 20. He was at 20.2. So at least it was close. If he works on it, maybe we buck that trend of no quarterback, no successful quarterback in the NFL ever has been successful, and if they didn't have at least one college season under 20. I hope we buck that trend. Okay, there's my PTSD. But a lot of people are with RG3 in their mindset. He's going to get broken. He's too skinny. Well, Uptown Dre here bringing up something that was announced today, which was Lamar Jackson dropped his weight down to 205.
And so, nobody said nothing.
Nobody's worried about Lamar Jackson right now. I mean, he's had some injury, and there are probably some concerns. KDot, but that's one of the things I think most people are concerned about is reliving 2012. I had a good time in 2012. I wish that time would have continued, but 2012 was an exciting time to be a Washington fan.
Yeah,
I think there's a balance, right? There's a balance. So like so I live in Baltimore, and like the Lamar thing, I've definitely heard some people talk about Lamar thing like, oh, did he head up a corn off? Is he smoking crack racks? Like, it's just what is he doing? But there's like, I think the difference with Lamar and Jayden, which has always been my thing going into this, is Lamar does a great job of not getting touched. Jayden's got to learn that. So like, that's the only element I'd say about that. But I think there's also just this comparison game that ends up happening, especially nowadays with these. There are guys that have come in and just broken any norm system, period. You should never be comparing anyone to Patrick Mahomes. The moment you open your mouth to do that, just stop. CJ Stroud is another one. The moment you need to start talking about CJ Stroud last year, the moment you need to realize that's an anomaly. We can hope, you can pray, but you don't need to play the comparison game. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. If it works out, great, whatever. But it doesn't happen. It's like, I know for me going into this season, I was hoping Jayden's not going to start week 1. The closer we get to the season, the more I'm thinking he's going to start week 1. Just because I think the more and more the training, you're just going to see there's one guy clearly better than the other guys, and you can't really justify not playing the best guy at the team for the team at that particular point in time, right? But I want to see where the offensive line is. I want to see where some of this stuff is before you throw them out there. And that's just maybe that's some PTSD, but I really just think that it's the best way to develop a quarterback, if I'm completely honest. Like, I think there's a balance. I think that there is a self-realization that you have to kind of come with, like, am I making comparisons that aren't truly real? Am I being overly concerned about stuff that shouldn't be overly concerned about? Compared to, hey, there is a balance between throwing caution to the wind and having like legit caution with how it is you do things. I think we just need to make sure that we're asking ourselves that with each step.
One of the things that I found interesting in the Jayden Daniels kind of saga here was Dan Quinn talking about why they went after Marcus Mariota and saying that they wanted a guy who plays very similarly. Do you see that? Because that part would kind of stop the hype train a little bit, right? Like no one looks at Marcus Mariota, a guy who I need to find it. I did this for my Atlanta friend. I made the Atlanta logo with Marcus Mariota shadow boxed, throwing from the ground. No one gets excited about Marcus right now, right? Like, so that comment seems counterintuitive to this hype train. What's going on with that, Trev?
I think they brought Mariota on because didn't he win the Heisman or was a finalist and wasn't he number 2 overall pick? Like he was
number 2.
Taking college he was taking college by storm. So I'm thinking they might have went back to look at some of that film a little bit and some of the success he had in Atlanta. It wasn't great, but he had something. He was starting there. I think they have a similar body style, similar height, similar offensives. I don't know. I buy into it. I just don't think he's going to be starting, but it's a good – if something were to happen, I think the offense wouldn't fall off drastically. Mariota there, maybe the quarterback play does, but the offense will still probably run just as close as it could if we had Jayden. I believe in what he said. We could have had some other backups. We could have had Sam Darnold. We could have had anybody, but we went after somebody that's similar.
Can I ask you guys? I know for me and Rahmet, when it came down, when we heard the Mariota signing and thinking about what that meant as far as quarterback, we leaned Jayden. We didn't think it was the end all be all, but like if we're comparing any of the other guys, am I going to compare Drake May to Marcus? Absolutely not. Am I going to compare Caleb Williams? We're not in that sweepstakes at all, period. And then like the JJ McCarthy to Marcus, I'm like, while I think JJ's underrated athletically, he's definitely not a Marcus Mariota. Yeah, I just think they line up similarly. Plus, I just don't think we also know quite what the offense is going to be. I know everybody keeps saying air raid, but it's like, if you look at what he was doing in Arizona, what Cliff Kingsbury was doing in Arizona, especially by the end, the amount of 2 tight ends, the amount of like stuff that he was doing,
successful running game.
Right. So it's like, it's a lot of like, I think that people are putting a lot of stuff on us where they don't know what it's going to look like necessarily at all. You like Anthony Lynn coming in was my most exciting offensive coach pickup. And it's like run game. Like that's what I'm thinking. So like, I don't know.
When you listen to it, and I've mentioned this a few times here on Ref the District, when you listen to Dan Quinn, when you listen to Cliff Kingsbury, when you listen to Joe Witt Jr., they're building this team to win through running and defense. They don't want to rely. To Gus's comment, he doesn't want to see JD win. Not that he doesn't want to see JD win Offensive Rookie of the Year, but that if he wins Offensive Rookie of the Year, there's this idea that he had to kind of carry this offense. I don't think he's going to have to do that. I think the coaching staff is going to put him in a position. Anthony Lynn, Brian Johnson, Cliff Kingsbury, who's over and over again had to explain, we're not running the air raid. Like everybody keeps trying to pin air raid on him. Like you said, KDot. And that's just, he's like, we're not doing it. Joe Witt Jr. came out and said, we're not running Dallas's defense. So if that's what you're looking at, you're totally off base. That they're going to look at now that those things were successful. So I'm sure they're pulling from things from that. But the offensive coaching staff is why I believed they could have taken any one of the 3 QBs and have been successful, is because they're trying to do this the right way. I think that there's going to be something that's different here with this coaching staff. I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep them together, but I'm personally excited. One of the things they're doing is Dan Quinn is having both offenses on 2 different fields practicing at the same time rather than rotating reps.
Right.
They're not wasting time out there. They're just like, hey, guys, we're running the offense. They have enough coaching experience there. And they're, like you said, KDot, they're all on that mission statement. They're all single-minded. So they know that, a lot of people were talking about these 3 offensive minds being too much and then throwing in the QB coach and being like, hey, they're all trying to pull them in different directions. I don't think they're pulling in different directions. I think they're all on the same page as what needs to be done, and it's flipping awesome.
I think so. When quick mention back to the Alfred Morris thing, because I thought it was a selling point, and I think it's a difference between what we're seeing right now potentially and what we saw back then. The reason Alfred Morris never got the flowers that he deserved was he was a running back in a Mike Shanahan system, which is once you are that. There is an element of people that just think your talent level goes down a couple notches because you're running in that Alex Gibbs, Gary Kubiak, 1/run gap, that run scheme. So like everybody was sort of like, it's the system more than this the guy. The thing that I'm noticing about this coaching staff that makes me excited is this is not a coaching staff that gives a damn about a system. They don't care. They're here to do what coaching's supposed to do. Teach, motivate. Like every time that one of these guys gets hired and you listen to the press conference or you see the previous stops, what people are excited about with them is that dude taught me better than anybody else taught me. That dude motivated me the way that nobody else motivated. He taught me how to look at this thing in a way I never saw it before. That's what they're doing. They're taking this talent and they're trying to see how can we best utilize them and how can we explain it in the simplest of terms to get the best out of the player. Like that to me it's what's been missing from a lot of organizations around the league, really. People get married to a system or they get married to one guy, and it's like, no, In order to be a good coach, you have to be malleable because you're going to get different guys. Like the only through line is, do they want to work? Do they want to work? Do they want to learn?
I mean, we got Dante Fowler, who's been with Dan Quinn since Florida and left and came back to Dan Quinn. Salim Farrell, Daryl Tapp, San Francisco. That's why he's here. Bobby Wagner is here because of Dan Quinn. Like,
right.
Exactly, KDot. Exactly.
The two things that I loved from this coaching staff, two of the things I'll say, because there's definitely more things to love about them. Dan Quinn talking to the coaching staff and telling them, you have to get on their level. Like, you can't just make everything about what's happening on the field. You're never going to be able to coach them that way. You're never going to figure out what's going on with them if you don't get to them outside of that practice field. Love it. As a 20-year Air Force veteran, as a former instructor, teacher myself, like, that hits home. I'm a coach for a bunch of 10-year-olds, and I'm struggling with that right now because they do so well in practice. And then the moment we get to a game, they just go back to it. So I'm sitting there trying to think of how can I get on their level and think about that. And then you hear it from Joe Witt Jr., who's just like, he flat out said that there is nobody who's uncoachable. If someone tells me this guy is uncoachable, the coach is the one leaving, right? Because it's the coach's job to teach and figure out how to get them to do it. Maybe they're not capable. Maybe it's the physical thing. Maybe there's something that they can't get over, but it's not that they're uncoachable. And I love that from Joe Witt Jr. And I think that this coaching staff's awesome. The hype train just keeps rolling. We were talking about Jayden Daniels. Now we're going to hype up about the coaches. Trev had his hand.
I'm going to pick it back on that. It's going to go back to Dan Quinn, what he said at his introductory press conference. How many times have you heard retread coaches admit their fault as a head coach, took the time to study those faults, correct those, and wait for the right time to be like, okay, I think I can do this again? You really don't hear that. I mean, I don't watch a lot of press conferences for retread hires, but the ones you do hear about for your team, you never hear that. So just his mentality from that day on lets me know that, hey, I can put my trust in this guy. Because I admit, I was like, I don't want Dan Quinn, 28-3, don't want it. Saw it before, don't want it. But to hear him speak and say what he did for himself to become a head coach again, he's proven that with the staff he hired, with his partnership with Adam Peters. Him and Adam Peters are lock in step, which shows how the dedication and hard work they did behind the scenes to make this relationship happen. So that's where my hype train started, was to hear Dan Quinn say, I sucked, I reevaluated, I'm ready to attack it again. I've got not only by myself, Raheem Morris, but I got everybody.
And one of the highlights to that was how he understood that he failed at not having a succession plan as offensive coordinator, a weakness of his, right? He's a defensive coach. He had Kyle Shanahan. They had a good offense. And then Kyle Shanahan goes and he doesn't have a good offense because he didn't have a plan for when Kyle Shanahan left. So he's already knows that, hey, if Cliff does well, that he's going to be going somewhere else. He's going to be taking a job. So Brian Johnson, Anthony Lynn, in-house, maybe one of those two take the job, or they working through the coaches because they're trying to work top to bottom. And I think that's going to be an exciting time here. Gus throwing in a question for us, I'm going to dovetail into this one. No great segue. Unfortunately, I apologize to my fans of the segue. Gus Bus here. Would you rather B-Rob have a 1,250-yard rushing season or Jayden Daniels to have a 3,500-yard passing season?
Easy.
Are we winning?
Okay. Oh, that
easy.
It's probably the better follow-up, right? But if I had to answer, it's B-Rob 1,250. Like I said, if it's up to me, JD's not starting the full season. And I'd like to know that the rushing attack is working. I want to know that they have something developed and working with the rushing attack, because that's one thing we didn't get to see last year because they refused to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be outstanding. I think they're both likely. I know a lot of people were answering this one as both. Why do you have to choose? Because it's like it. You have,
that'd be nice.
Offensive success breeds offensive success, right? So, but I think that it's a Brian Robinson 1,250-yard season probably means we have team success. And I think that is far more exciting than seeing Jayden Daniels pass for 3,500 yards in that one.
Passing.
Yep. Speaking of B-Rob here, he did bring up a JG. Thanks for reminding me about this one. No huddle. This team's probably going to be running a lot of no huddle, hurry up, just trying to keep the up tempo. We talked about Cliff Kingsbury not running an air raid, but it does seem like this up tempo offense that he's been known for is coming to town. Any thoughts on that one?
Stoked.
I'm hyped. I don't know how much stock can go in that comment. Maybe they worked on that the past few days and they talked about it, but I'm hyped. I'm ready. I mean, I'm ready.
I think one of the things, and we've seen it with like 4-minute drills, right? Where they do run that like slight hurry up, is what I want to see more of is if your offense gets going, because the defense itself, like the defense you're facing is set up wrong. They have like a bunch of big heavies in there and you threw out your 3 fastest guys. Don't go to huddle. Don't give them a chance to sub out. Just keep attacking them. And I think that's what I'm excited about is, and this is one of the things we're talking about in the front office, winning outside of the game. They hired a guy whose literal job is to sit there and watch the game and kind of give that kind of insight of, hey, so-and-so's in the game. This is your time to run play X. And hey, this is where you need to throw a challenge. And hey, this is what's happening from the booth that I can see. And I think that's excellent because the more you can attack teams like that, the more successful you're going to be. I mean, look how many times you have Aaron Rodgers with the free play because, guy jumped off sides or catching that 12th man on the field from any, and Patrick Mahomes or any good offense, right? When any good QB sees that, you want that here. And I think that they're doing things right to be able to do that. And I think that no huddle is one of those things that I would love to see on occasion. It doesn't have to be all the time, right? I don't want to be one of these teams also that you score so quickly that you only have like 15 minutes of possession and then the other team has the entire rest of it, right? Your defense is going to get shellacked. So you don't want
Kelly.
Yes.
Chip Kelly, right? You don't want to do that. So I think it'll be good. Yeah. So Doug hitting that one there, as long as they can slow it down when necessary and still move the ball up tempo is fine. Perfect.
I gotta say, I think the thing that what was the most frustrating for me, I'm not going to say that. There were a lot of frustrating things about the offense last year, but one thing that was a point of contention for me was the fact that I didn't feel as though they diversified the roles as far as what these guys were able to do. Terry McLaurin can do a lot of things at the wide receiver position. You can line him up in slot. He's a rough and tumble dude. You can have him run all these sort of screens, diversify what he's doing. Don't have just Curtis Samuel be the only one that was doing it, right? B-Rob to me was a revelation catching a football. I didn't know he could catch the football as good as Antonio Gibson. And I was like, oh, he can do that too? Night, Gibby. Like, that's what I thought. Yeah. But it was like, with an Austin Eckler in there, with a Brian Robinson in there, with a Terry McLaurin there, with a Luke McCaffrey there. Mm-hmm. I want defenses not to know what the hell is happening. I don't want them to have an opportunity, or we used to telegraph everything. You knew what run was coming from what direction, just looking at the TV. Like, you knew. And the defense knew. So it's like, there are so many, and when this coaching staff wants to play to the players' strengths, that's where I get like, oh man, we really, like, we have so much more talent in certain positions than we've gotten use out of. Just utilize them. And I love the idea of don't give a defense any time to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
How many times, Trev, did we hear defensive players last season, opposing defensive players during their presser time, talk about, we knew what was coming. That's how it's easy to stop them.
During that 8-game losing streak we went on, that's when it started. When we were 4-5 and lost 8 in a row, that's when you start hearing teams saying, "Yeah, it was easy. He lined up like this, so we knew this was coming, and we just shut it down."
Yeah, it was abysmal. Not going to happen. We're going to new. Yeah, Bobby Wagner knew. Everybody knew.
Yeah,
we have people
that's crazy
hyping up Sinnott. Another one here, lining them up with an H-back. Like there's a lot to be excited about. This is the time to be excited. Training camp is going to be epic. Like Uptown Dre here said, the next date. Today was their last day for this just couple set. They're going to be taking a day off, be back on the 24th, then back in June, 4th, 5th, and the 7th. And then those are all OTA workouts. And we've mentioned this last week and with Freddie. How awesome is it that these are voluntary and everyone is on board? No one is missing this. Every single player is there. We don't have to hear about somebody who's missing time for whatever reason or working out on their own in Florida. They are all there. And that is big, right? Doing hard with good people.
Yeah, everybody's buying in the same thing. So why would you want to miss out on that?
Yeah, the team is working together. I mean, the moments that we even saw it last year, which once again goes back to that moment where you had Terry McLaurin and those guys show up for the Eric Bieniemy press conference, and then a month later, Eric Bieniemy's yelling at you to shut up and get yourself back in the huddle. It's like, okay, exactly. Great. So it's like everybody seems to be on the same page. Every clip I get from the rookie minicamp to now, when they're blasting the music, when they got the logs doing military drills, whatever it is, these dudes look like they're coming to have fun and to play and to work together. Like they actually enjoy being around each other. They enjoy the work that they're putting in. Like that's what you want to hear. You don't want to hear, oh yeah, I guess we got to go to camp again. No, these dudes are stoked and it's great.
Jonathan Allen said today he was so happy. I ain't never heard that man say the H word as in happy.
No, when's the last time we've seen him smile?
He even ended that question. He even ended that answer with, now it feels like this is a dream job. He ain't been in the playoffs but one time. We won 4 games last season, and this man has practiced with the team for 2 weeks, and he said it feels like a dream job right now. I mean, what is that? That's just mic drop right there. Nothing else needs to be said.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Well, yeah, fantastic. Nothing else needs to be said tonight here on episode 174. There's 100 people watching right now. I hope you hit that like button and subscribe here if you're watching on YouTube. If you haven't, make sure you do that. And make sure you head over to District Divided on YouTube. Check out KDot in his natural habitat there with Ahmed. Great team, great conversations they have all the time. Again, my pick for most underrated Commanders content out there. So make sure you head over, give them all the love over in District Divided. We've talked about going to Miami, joint practices, these new hires, and how we are hyped for this season to come. I hope you're hyped. We'll be back next week for episode 174 as we stream live every Wednesday here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can join the conversation live or catch us afterwards on your favorite audio platform. If you're listening to us there, make sure you leave us a rating and review. It helps other people find us. And you know what? Helps us create more content as well. I swear to goodness, the chaos here in the Perry household is getting under wraps, and we'll be creating more content for our Ref the District fans. So don't worry, we'll have some good stuff coming for you, not just the Wednesday shows. If there's suggestions you have, make sure you hit us up on any of our social media platforms. I'm Nathan Perry. That's Trev. KDot, thanks for joining us here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And
thanks for having me. Love your guys, man. Love this show. You guys doing big things, man. All the sponsor reads and stuff. We want to be like you one day. Okay? You guys killing it.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. And until next time,
win off the field.
Be a fan.